Hey guys! She's gonna hate that I said that. She's in the other room and can hear me. But it's Britt again. I just wanted to hop on. I'm gonna share a little bit of my testimony of my relationship with Christ, coming to know Him, and what my walk has kind of been. This is just a rough little video, so just know there's a lot more to it, a lot more detail, a lot more struggle. But I just want to share a little bit. So we mentioned in the last video how I came to know Christ. I was raised in the church in a very small town, Southern Baptist, had our own row, you know the thing. And I had always felt deeply connected to God from a very young age. I remember vividly, not from other people telling me, I have an older sister who's about 2 years older than me, sitting in a bath. And I just remember preaching to her and telling her basically if she wasn't nice to me that she was going to hell, which is not not the case, but just felt so strongly about like making sure that she was living good and that she was living a good life. Even from a young age, I just cared about where her soul would be going. And so so that was from a very young age. I went to a camp that I wasn't necessarily supposed to go to. My mom was one of the leaders, and my sister, who like I said was 2 years older than me, at this time I was 6, and you had to be 8, I believe, to go to the camp. But somehow me and another girl that was the same age, our moms were the leaders that went, we talked them into letting us go, and I accepted Christ into my heart and, did the whole shebang, got baptized, and continued to have Him a part of my life for the remainder of what it has been so far. But that didn't mean that I had no trials and tribulations. If anything, I was like, now they are hitting hard. Some things happened to me when I was pretty young. We'll kind of go over that a little bit later, but mostly choosing the wrong relationships. Parents got divorced when I was 17. Not having all of my siblings in our household. Basically having my grandmother and grandfather do a lot for me throughout my entire, adulthood and childhood, which both are no longer, with us. And so just having a lot of loss, a lot of love, a lot of lessons, in that, and just continuing to just like pray, like the God that I knew in my heart, not necessarily if I was even like really taught this, but I wasn't taught differently, but I just knew that that's not what He had for me. It brought me out of a really bad relationship that I was in when I was younger, and so thankful for that. That kind of brought me into, it brought me into me doing hair and makeup. One, felt like it was a very natural talent, but 2, I just got really good at covering things up and just making sure that everyone I had my face on, like no one could tell anything was wrong, and I just was on all the time. I had high expectations of myself, some of which I felt like were from my parents. It was like, if you're around people, you got to make sure that you're on all the time, like you're a good kid, you act right, you play the sport, you yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir, no ma'am kind of situation. And being raised in the church didn't necessarily mean that I was raised in a very Christian home. Now that's not to down my parents, but there wasn't like we went to church and then we went home and did Bible study. If anything, it was a little bit more on the different side of when I went to church is when I felt like at home. I just knew that He was calling me for more, and I knew that the people that were in my life were there for a reason, and they were there for a season, and that the people that were around me were not whom I were to make my life revolve around, that He was supposed to be the center of that. And so I spent most of my young teenage years until still sometimes forever, but no, it's changed in the last couple of years, especially being married. I had like a dream when I was younger of, I was obsessed with marriage. Like I just knew that I was supposed to be a wife one day. Sorry, Derek, you were planned for before you even knew. But I just always had this vision. It was such a sacred and beautiful thing to know that one day I was going to be chosen and I was going to be loved. And I knew that that was something that God had offered me and he did for me, but I was human and I needed something physical in front of me. And I tried to find that in relationships that clearly did not work out with them, and I'm thankful for that now. But at those moments, it just broke my heart more, and motivated me. I was like, well, if I can look at this person and I can give my all and I can love them unconditionally, like, just imagine. I just had to keep telling myself, like, just imagine what it's going to be like when it is someone that God actually has for me, and that is meant to stay. But about the dream, you know, I just always had this vision of walking down an aisle and all these people are like standing on the sides of the pews and they're just like looking at me, and it's all these people that either I've had a relationship, whether that was dating or friendship or even relationships in, you know, family members, you know, just standing there looking at me, and I'm just like walking past them, and like, you know, for the longest time, like I just didn't know who was going to be standing at the end. All I could see that it was God. And I, you know, quick to come, because I feel like God has also given me the gift of like dreams, of letting me know things through that way, because I'm hard-headed. So he's like, well, at least you're sleeping, so let me talk to you now because you shut up for a little bit. And to tell me that all those people that were standing on either sides, it's where they're supposed to be. They were supposed to be something that I passed through, that I use him to be able to reach them, whether that changed them at that moment, changed them later on, but I was supposed to stay consistent. I was supposed to stay on a path that was leading me to him, you know, the bridegroom. And what a glorious thing to have consistently in your head. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't try to find my worth in other ways. It's not that I didn't lose my way as far as, okay, well, I still believe in God, but like, do you remember what you told me, God? You know, like when I accepted you, like, do you remember what you told me? And of course he's up there in heaven like, do you remember what I told you? Do you remember that I said that I was going to be there for you and that I wouldn't let any harm come to you? And I do believe, and I feel like it is a misconception sometimes, and you'll probably hear me and Adria do multiple videos on this about being able to handle more, or he won't give you more than you can handle. And I do feel like it's the same with when people try to understand why there's bad. Well, if he was a good God, if he's good, if he's the definition of good, why is there evil? And truthfully for me, how I had to see it is that he could use any situation that I put myself in and still come out himself. He did not waver. He did not change. He was consistent. He had chosen me. He loved me as a daughter. And all of that time I believed in him, but I wasn't like in a relationship with him in the way that he had to be ideal. And my faith was always something that I thought was a big character piece for me. Like that, when people thought of me, they thought of, you know, oh, she believes in God. That was a big conversational piece. I always had people come and ask me questions, and I'm like, God, please give me the answer. But everyone has their struggle and differences, and mine was worth 100%. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I never could keep friends long enough that I felt valued me. I always felt used, and I felt pushed to the side. No matter what I did was not good enough. I would try to make the best grades. I would try to excel in sports, and I would do all of these things. I would wear my hair a certain way. I would wear certain clothes just to feel like I was noticed, because I felt like my personality and me as a person was not enough to be noticed. And I do believe that God was like, well, because you're trying to find your identity in yourself. You're trying to find your identity with other people, and your identity is in me. So how can you know yourself? How can you represent yourself without knowing who I am? And I was like, oh, whew, Jesus, he talks to me. Let me tell you, Jesus is my homeboy. And we talk like that all the time. Well, at least he answers me. I feel like that way. But I'm stubborn, and I went through a lot of things in life, and I do believe that God used those certain situations to be like, look, you're hard-headed, but the reason you're hard-headed is because I've given you a call to a life that is not for the weak. It is not for those that can just simply stop or get afraid. Like, it is for those that you have got to be beaten down to the very end and you're still trying to stand up. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know if I'm as strong as you think I am, but then I'm like, well, you created me, so I got to be some kind of type of way that you think I am. And finding my strength in him and my identity in him has been the biggest thing, and being married, one of the biggest things there. I'll probably do a little speech on that another time too, but just people thinking that marriage solves problems when in fact it amplifies it sometimes. It's like, oh, you thought you were okay. Oh, you thought that you were a catch. You thought that you were giving your all in all these other situations, and these people, took advantage of you. And yes, those things did happen to me, and it has shaped me in many ways of who I am today. And I'm, at that time was not thankful for them, but I'm like, there has to be a lesson in this somewhere. But learning how to be a wife, how to be a daughter to my in-laws, how to be a sibling to my, brother and sister-in-law, and then their husband and wife. Like, it has been a big struggle. It's something that I dealt with because I was like, well, I'm not the one that matters. Like, I'm the one on the side. Like, I shouldn't, be a part, because that's just what my heart was telling me, like, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, they're saying something about you. Like, just struggling with things like that, because there was such a need, or has always been a need, to be perfectionist. And if you didn't show me love a certain way, then I was like, well, they must not love me at all. And so learning a lot of lessons through my life, and just thankful that God had been consistent. And I did have people in my life that had close relationships with God, and I am thankful for them to, help me through certain situations. But I just remember one major thing, if my mom ever, taught me anything, was that I struggled with anxiety a lot when I was in high school. And I got taken to the doctor, and they put me on medicine. I took 2 pills, and that was the end of that, because no. And not against anyone that takes medication. I know that it helps a lot of people. It just was not what was needed for me. And I just remember having taken that the second time that I was supposed to take the medicine, and just remember it like amplifying my anxiety attack versus doing what I felt like it was supposed to do, which was calm me down. And I just remember her telling me, she was like, there's going to be a time and a place when you don't have anyone else around you, and these moments might happen. So what are you going to be able to do about it? Like, you have to be able to be your own, comfort at that point in time. And I just was like, oh, what a life lesson, because I'm like, well, what if it's only me for the rest of my life? Not just with anxiety, but with every situation in life. But then I'm like, but I'm not alone, and he can heal. If he can take me out of the things that he has taken me out of, and have led me to the path that he has led me to, then he will show up, because he's never left. So I just am thankful for that. And like, I know it may sound like, oh, God was always there for you and he never left you, and that must be nice. Well, like, it's the truth for everyone. It's whether we want to accept it or not, or whether we know how to see it or to accept it. I needed it. I needed to believe that he was real, and that he could save me, and he could be there for me. And he has not proven me wrong yet. And I'm thankful for that, because there's many a times where I shouldn't even be in front of this camera right now. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of my testimony. I would love to go into more, but Adria is going to film her part. So I'm sure we don't want this to be an hour-long thing, because, again, you'll get to notice how I said that God was like, he tells me stuff through my dreams, because he's like, finally, she shut up. He did give me the gift of gab. But I'm just thankful for this opportunity, and I'm thankful to do it with someone who is near and dear to my heart, and is not just like a sister in certain situations, but a sister in Christ. And it has been a very nice and wonderful journey. And she's watching me right now. And it's been a very nice and wonderful journey to kind of see her flourish in that, but also God reteaching me things and giving me patience and things that she was telling me, like, oh, you've done this for me and you've done that. And I'm like, I didn't even know I could do that. And it's because I'm just a vessel. And I'm just thankful for that opportunity. And I hope that we're able to even just like chat. If it does nothing more of these videos than just like reach one person and just talk to them and be able to just be a comfort, to be a beacon of light, whatever that is for you. Like, we're normal people. It's not like we both got saved and Jesus was like, okay, there's no trouble whatsoever. You're good for life. You know, thanks for choosing me. No, he's like, make sure you put the buckle down and the thing over your head and get ready for this roller coaster. I know you're afraid of heights and you hate roller coasters, but also know that I'm the one that's in charge of the stuff and I'm going to catch you if you fall out. And I promise that these things will not come undone because I'm the one that secured them. And so just know that you're not alone in any of the situations you ever been in. You know, we talk about like our name that we do is same but different. Everyone's walk of life is not the same, but there is one common denominator, and that's the fact that he wants to be able to call you his own, and you are his own. He created you and he loves you, and you matter. You matter so much. You matter to me. I don't even know you, but I love you. I don't know what your life is or where you've been or what it's going to even look like in 5 years, 2 days, whatever that looks like, but you are loved. And you're probably like, Britt, how can you love someone you don't even know? Look, bro, if I can love the wrong guy for so many years, I can love someone I don't know, okay? But this is him calling me to love you. He called me to leave that, okay? So I love you guys, and I'm going to let Adria hop on because she's making fun of me in the other room, I'm sure, or crying, one or the other. But I love you, and I hope to do this again. We'll see you soon.